Craig, lovely to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you, Tim. Do you? I know you got a lot on your plate, right? You're a busy man,
Yes.
And there's a multi-million-dollar organisation that you're one of the key operators at, and one of the leaders, principal leader of. In your quiet times, do you find yourself just whacking into the old search engine AFL ladder and just having a look at Collingwood sitting in third position?
I was wondering where you're going with this.
Yeah, I was too.
Do you ever because I'm looking at it now, and if I was a Collingwood supporter, I would be looking at that a lot.
Oh, no, it's hard not to see it.
A lot.
Yeah, no, not a lot, but I had taken notice of it.
It looks nice, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Well, at this stage of the year, you kind of have to, because you want to make sure that I know it's 1 week at a time, but you got to plan for the future as well, I would think, and you still got to do whatever it takes to get into that top four, and then obviously who is going to be your opponent? You can only do that by looking at the ladder and the current standings, I would have thought, at this stage.
Come on, guys, you know that's not true.
You know that's not true, Andrew.
Well,
The only way you can get up the ladder is by looking at the ladder.
No,
That's what you just said.
No, preparing for your potential opponents is you got to look at the ladder.
No, well, reality of the ladder will be what it will be. That is truth, and we to now we've had a good run of form, but there's a lot to be played out yet.
Go on.
I'm not superstitious, but every now and again, back when I played and when you're coaching and you have not luck, but you have this run of very close games that you always seem to be getting the benefit of the doubt and getting over the line in circumstances you go, oh, how did that happen? We somehow or other sneak that out. Do you feel like there's a quota on that luck? Because, my goodness, this is some run you're going through.
Yeah, there's a couple of times. I remember the Adelaide game. We were, we're sort of in front, and then all of a sudden it could have been behind it. But you get to the last 30 seconds of the game again, and we've lived in this space week after week after week. Like I've never looked at the clock as much. We have a live clock on the bench. I'm looking at it so much, like 20 seconds, 10 seconds, like constantly every week. And I remember the Adelaide game. I just lost my way and just got the headphones on. We've done it again. Like, how have we got out of this again? Yeah. And there's a lot more that's been played out since then, the Essendon game in particular.
So it's been one of the storylines, one of the themes of your season, the way you've been winning games of footy and the fact that you've been winning a lot of games of footy. I watch the social media conversation and they don't even know how they're doing it. I reckon it's one of the biggest loads of baloney, and I put to you, not that I expect that you'll say anything, but I put to you that you're quite happy for people to think that they have got no control over their destiny week to week, Collingwood, and that they've walked on the right side of the street at some stage, and this luck will turn. It has to be more than that.
Well, we believe there is, but obviously there's luck needed too.
Of course.
Like if the young lad from Essendon doesn't hit the post, it's all over. So there's things that have gone our way. There's no doubting that. But there is a genuine belief in this group, and we've trained it. We train situations regularly every week. We trained it again yesterday. We review the last minutes of each game, and in lines as individuals and as a team. We have methods around those situations. We're living in this place, though, more than anyone else. So, no other clubs have to live in the space we've had to live in up until now. But, I think there is some method behind it. I'll also say that the GPS doesn't lie, and our last quarters, we're running our games as good as any. And our last 10 minutes of last quarters is as good as any in terms of scoring. So you have to play the 4 minutes to beat us in a minute.
Craig,
do you subscribe to the theory that these experiences that you're having will hold you in good stead once, if and when that occurs, when the stakes are a lot higher?
Well, what I will say to that, and time will tell, who knows. But reality is that, one, there's a belief in us, but then there's also the opposite side of the fence. They go, oh, here they come again.
Yes.
And I know for a fact that Pendle said to me, one of the players, I think we might have been 21 points down and we kicked a goal against Essendon. And one of the young lads goes, I guess this is when you come.
Yeah, right.
So there's that seed that we've planned against the opposition, which obviously in this competitive game, that you take all the little bits you can get.
So one of the games, the famous one where Elliott kicks the goal and you win the game, Darcy Moore was fundamental in that phase of play. after the game on Saturday, Jack Ginnivan does the on-ground interview, and he was fantastic chat with Sarah Jones. And he mentioned you, and he mentioned his family, and he mentioned Darcy Moore. He said, Darcy's been a great sounding board for me and somebody who I can go and speak to help deal with this. You've been in the game for a long time, and you've seen just about all of the types of personalities that footy can dish up. How unique is Darcy Moore as a man, not only as a footballer, but just as a man?
Oh, look, I'm lucky. I got to know Darcy when he was 16. He was a father-son opportunity for Collingwood back then, and I was, he'd come in school holidays, and I would watch his tapes and his local footy, his school footy, and then I'd watch him in the championships, and I'd go down and just watch him. So I built a relationship with him way back, and that relationship, 10 years past is still strong. He's a sort of guy that I think, when I'm older and greyer, that I'll still make contact with. He's a great human being. He's really high moral compass. It's super intelligent, like off the charts intelligent, which, it's intriguing. There's conversations you have. He thinks of things that others don't think of. But the human nature of what he does and the care that he sees in his teammates and his extended family is really strong, and we get benefit of that.
So that's because often the really smart people can be a bit unreachable for others, particularly, in broad churches like footy clubs.
Like for me and Gazy.
Right. And but for Jack Ginnivan to say what he said about him, and I look at Colin, he was through there, do better. He was strong on in all of that. He took a real leadership position, against an opposite one to some pretty powerful people at that footy club at the time. And he and a couple of others, Jack Might, they stood up and said, no, we want to be better. You've got a great bloke who got the C alongside his name now, but without asking you, is he going to be the next captain? Could he easily be the captain of the Collingwood Footy Club one day?
Yeah, I said this when we appointed Pendles again and then had the leadership group underneath him, that all those other guys, the vice captains, Howie and Taylor Adams and Darcy, all got high votes from their players. So, they seem to be the next in line. Darcy can easily lead our footy club, so could Howie, so could Tay. And these guys in particular, a reason why we're having on-field performance because they're driving the standards on and off the field. He's an exceptional leader by action, and he's got the presence to lead off the field as well. So he would be a great captain for us.
And today we read the news that Brodie Grundy might have had a setback. Apparently the ankle injury. How serious is that?
Well, he played on the weekend and was rapt that he got through a game. We haven't shied away thinking that he needed a bit of a hit out before AFL opportunity. Unfortunately, he pulled up a little bit sore. So he trained yesterday and he got through the session, but he's still a little bit sore. So we won't play him in the AFL this week. We're hoping he gets up by the end of the week to play VFL again, but it might be just a wait and see at the moment. He was a little bit sore again yesterday post-training.
Is it after game sore or is it injury-related sore, do you think?
I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah. I think he's sort of having some awareness in the ankle during training even, and then settles down a bit, and then when he gets up to perform again, there's a little bit in it still. So we're just going to have to wait and see. He's going to get some more treatment today and then see if he can train tomorrow and see where we're at.
Back in the day, the word awareness is relatively new in the footy sense in terms of injury management and maintenance, all that. Back in the day, how many blokes do you reckon you were playing footy with who were aware of something but just played with it?
Oh, I was only having this conversation this morning. I went for a walk with my wife and I was just talking about the rogue nature of sport and the narrow focus of just get up and play, whether it was from concussions to sort of breaks or bruises. And there was a bit of a get up and play and the cost will come later and don't worry about it. Now is more important than the future. I think we've got so much better at protecting our athletes for future, for future health. And there's no doubting we've changed a lot.
Do you reckon that's why we're seeing blokes play later? Like narrow lists might be one thing, extra players on the bench and all that. But do you reckon the fact that we are better at managing the players week in, week out, is that why we're seeing Dave Mundy's and Scott Pendlebury's and Joel? Is that why we're seeing blokes play well into their 30s?
Well, I can only speak for my generation. We played the mid-90s to the. I finished in 2004. We thought we were professional, and I sit here thinking I was really professional in the way I went about it. So were many of my teammates, but the whole professionalism has gone to a whole new level. So is medicine. So is operations, the way they do things, and the time frames it takes to heal. And we've progressed as a whole, as a sport, and I think the athletes are a byproduct of that.
Yep.
And getting back to one of the earlier questions, because I'm interested from a coaching perspective, because we've all, and you have been lauded for the way in which the game plan, the style of play, the aesthetics of it, all those things everyone's loved.
Well, we are loving. We love watching you play.
And it's fantastic. But now you get to a situation where, you're going to be in the finals, and you're going to. Are you working on? Do you still work on alternatives structurally and fundamentally with your system now as you prepare for the finals, or do you just try and do what you're doing and do it better?
Both. Yeah, I think you've got to get better. Like you can't just stand still. The game's, you're a sitting duck. People take things away from you. So the things we were doing well 4 weeks ago, opposition go, there's a little opportunity to take it away from you, whether it's centre bounces or the way you transition the ball. I think we're getting, like I'm watching us train yesterday, I thought, wow, we are on top of the ground, we are dynamic, we're really executing our skills. I thought it was one of the better sessions we've trained this year, which gets the coach excited.
Wow.
Yep.
Particularly in a big game in a couple of days' time off a 6-day break. So those things excite you, but we're trying to get better in what we're doing, but ultimately you can't stand still. I think the thing I'm enjoying about our group is when we get backed against the wall and things aren't looking our way, we come out firing.
That's fantastic.
We take more risk, and I love that about our group.
Did you follow at all the Manly story with the pride jumper and the 7 players withdrawing their services for the week?
A little bit.
Yeah. Did you think about how you would handle that internally if it was Collingwood that found itself, or any club that you're involved with, if they found themselves in that situation?
Look, personally, my approach to this stuff is that it becomes organic, like an event to celebrate something. For me, it should be more organic, and we're doing education regularly and talking to things. I know when I first started, Graham Wright and I presented to the board, we want to have greater diversity in our footy department. That was something, an aim for us, and the board were really on board with that, and we wanted to make sure that we set a plan towards getting that. Now, one thing to say it, then you've got to action it out. So then there's this drip feeding of like, okay, well, how do we implement that? So then we want to make our female staff or diverse footy department feel safe. So that becomes a daily thing. It's not a weekly thing. It's not a one-round event that you put on a jumper and represent that. So for me, that's education, that's the role modelling, that's respectful to whoever's in our environment. So, I look at it a bit more holistically about celebrating. For example, Indigenous round, that's one round. But we acknowledge every meeting we have, we have an acknowledgement to country or welcome to country in every one of our meetings. So there's a drip feeding event or pattern of behaviour on one event. So they're just a couple of small examples in reference to what you're talking about.
Do you, as a general philosophy, are you supportive of sporting organisation, particularly massive one like yours, engaging themselves in social issues and declaring what position that a club like yours would hold on these sometimes controversial issues? Now, to me, they shouldn't be controversial.
Well, they're divisive, aren't they?
They can be divisive. Do you think, like when that was going down, this machine, the temper text machine here, you get a whole, and a lot of people will text in and say, well, this is sport, don't throw this down my face. But do you think there is a role for your club to play?
Well, if you're going to throw it down the face, that means that you haven't done it over a series of time.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't ram anything down anyone's throat.
No.
We have a drip feeding approach to things that it just becomes organic, a drive-by or a conversation or an education.
But it still has to. The club still has to hold a position on that there'll be some out there, maybe even some of your fans don't agree with. Do you think that they should actually just avoid it?
Well, at the end of the day, we're here to win footy games.
Yes.
So that's our primary focus. But we have a far reach.
Yep.
Yeah, we do. We have an opportunity to role model, and I don't think we shy away from that.
So what if, just one last one on this, what if you do that? What if this is behaviours that have extended over a long period of time and ingrained in your footy club, and then the footy club decides, let's use the pride round or a pride jumper as an example. This is what we're going to do. We're going to wear this jumper, and these are all the reasons we've been talking about for 2 years. This is why we've decided to take it to the next level. What if you, as the coach, then had a couple of players come up to you and say, "Hey, coach, I'm not
religious reasons.
I'm not comfortable with this. I don't want to wear it. I can't wear it. I can't play in that game."
Well, I think we've had a couple of players, I'm not exactly sure who they were, but it wore the laces to represent around. We'll embrace difference. So surely we'll embrace difference, but I don't think it needs to be then an event and a moment that you go, all right, this is the moment we're going to do it and surprise things on people. I think that's where maybe without not. Really,
so would you try and bring players along? Would you? Is that?
Absolutely.
I mean, we're sort of just spitballing here because it's not a reality for your footy club. But would you try and bring them along, particularly if it's a big game and they're an important player, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the journey approach to it all, and you get a young lad in at 18, and then where they leave at 32, you want them to be better people.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I want to be better in the environment for the time I'm in there, and I want to make sure our environment is safe and able to women and all different races be able to come into our environment and feel safe and not vulnerable. And we had Leon Davis come to the club yesterday. It was such a great moment for him to come back into the footy club, and his mum and dad were there. Trevor and Nancy and telling stories. And it was really, really special moment. And I couldn't help but reflect and think to myself how much we've grown in just the short time we've been there.
That feels like a pretty significant thing, given everything that, Heredia's put to, and Andrew and Leon have been part of that conversation. I would think that's been a challenging position for him to find himself in on the way through.
It took a lot of courage for him to step back in and his family. And I didn't shy away from telling him how courageous it was. And Andrew Cracker the week before, and the courage to step back in. And I just couldn't help but feel a moment of growth in what we're doing and an opportunity for us to, again, not make it an event, Leon's back. No, it's just an ongoing thing that you're more than welcome, and we'll make sure that you're safe and create an environment where we'll be safe.
So your legacy is about wins and losses and what you're going to do as a footy team, right? But it's also about the wallpaper in your office, and it's also about being there and creating an environment that Leon Davis feels welcome to come back into the footy club.
And Mick Malthouse.
And of course, Mick Malthouse,
This goes beyond our playing group. I'm not. Again, we've had a mantra around honouring the jumper. That's not just this year. The history of this footy club is so strong.
That's pretty special stuff, all right? I mean,
of course.
It's easy because we like your company and we love having you in here, but if we were talking about you, not to you, I think we'd say the same thing. That's pretty special stuff, I reckon.
Yeah, I don't lose sight. I'm really grateful to be in this position. I drive past pinching myself that I'm a coach at Collingwood, and this club's going to be alive a lot longer than I will be. To play a small part in bringing the past to the present and creating our own DNA for the future.
I was just thinking, because Kane Corns made a comment about, he believes that some of those departing players, and whether it's fair or unfair, but he might have actually used the Carl Amon as an example of one that seemingly, if you believe the reports, that he's probably going to leave. And so when you're not you can't make the finals, well, they shouldn't play. Where do you stand? Because to me, I don't agree with that. I think they should play if they've earned their spot and they're part of contracted. Do you have a view on now? You're fortunately not in that situation because you're still going for the Holy Grail.
I'm probably of the view, and I reckon every case would be a different one to talk to, but I think I'm of the view that not to burn a bridge. I'd like to see the bridge through. If we knew a player was leaving, I'd like to walk them across and hand them over to the next part of their journey. And similar to conversations, just what we had prior to the break around, being part of something to the end. And then your time is up, and your jumper will be handed over to someone else. And for me, I'm now working as the coach of Collingwood, but I was working there 7-8 years ago, and then told I hadn't had a contract. But I worked through, saw my contract out, shook the hands, walked out with my head up high, and then. Who knows? You just never know what life is going to deal you around the corner or you're going to meet again. So I'm a see it through type of guy.
Speaking of jumpers, I don't know whether you've been aware of the conversation. Koshy is a bit upset about the black and white, the prison bar jumper, and they can't wear it. There's an agreement, and it's written, and it's been agreed upon by both clubs. So we understand the historical kind of precedence here between Collingwood and Port Adelaide. Have you given it any thought? As to whether they should be allowed to wear it in a special game, one-off every year over in Adelaide?
No, not much. But my understanding was that it was when there was a heritage round, and there's no heritage round anymore.
That's right.
So I thought things have changed slightly in that. I've been had a couple of conversations with Jeff Brown around this. He's asked my opinion around it or given some thoughts around it. And to be honest, I'm happy to leave it in his hands. My understanding was it was work in progress. But
it does sound like it is. I mean, David Koch believes it is. Jeff Brown certainly sounds like it's not off the table. I just wonder whether you had, as a kind of footy fan, I'm not trying to trap you into it, getting an answer out of you that, is contrary to club policy or club position. But We had a chat the other day on air, just couched Collingwood supporters. Just said, give us a call. What do you? And overwhelmingly, you get a couple of passionate Collingwood supporters saying, no.
Yeah.
But most are of the view that, if it's not against us and it's the one game and it's...
Yeah, I won't talk to the progress or the work in progress it is, but I grew up in Adelaide and I know what that jumper means to Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
My brother barracked for Port Adelaide. Like it's real. It has a real meaning to it, so I get why they want to wear it.
So do you reckon in your football heart is the AFL Port Adelaide? People go, they're not even Port Adelaide Magpies. They're the Port Power. They're teal. And are they the same club? When you just think of Port, are they the one club?
Well, they're not. No, well, it's difficult for me to say.
I know.
I've never worked there. Ask someone that's worked there, and ask Kane, ask Chad, his brother.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Those guys that have actually been a little bit along the journey of that. It's hard for me to comment, but I know, similar to my conversations, what I just said, they're trying to bring their past to the present, aren't they? So, ask someone that's been there.
No, that's beautifully answered and very well put. Go on.
I don't know whether you heard Mark McVeigh's comments at the end of the game where he publicly, we were a little taken aback.
You just don't hear coaches say that, do you?
So here's 8 guys that he's prepared to call out to say, hey, you fulfilled your obligations. The rest, there was a sentiment that the season's over and they've checked out. I know you're not going to answer directly to that, but I guess to try and find out how you deal with those circumstances, how conscious do you have to be after a game in particular, in that somewhat still heat of the moment, of what you say? Now, I don't think he's gone back and thought that I wouldn't do it again, but do you have a view on the comments that he made?
Yeah, I've lived it as a player when you're sort of, already booked your holiday away and it's 3-4 rounds to go, and as a coach, I've been in that position, and it's a difficult one. All I can, and I won't speak for Mark McRae, is it Mark?
Yep.
Yeah. I won't speak for Mark, but what I will say is that you try to find intrinsic motivation. You're looking for something, and clearly, as a coach, I was looking for opportunities to get the best out of this group. They're not playing for a ladder position. What can we play for? Yeah. We're playing for our spirit, or to take someone out of the final. You're always looking for something, and I reckon, on his behalf, he's probably looking for something. He's tried everything, and he's looking for some other stimulus to get him through to the end of the year. That would be my take.
Would he have made those comments without addressing that with the players prior? Would they have known, or would he have told them, say, listen, this is what I'm going to say because this is what I believe and I'm going to go to public with it? Or would he have used that for him as part of the messaging?
It's difficult for me to say, but most of the time, most of the things you hear in the public is what I've said privately.
Right.
Very rarely is there something so significant we protect, but there are little things that you want to keep your own. I'm trying to be authentic in my press conferences, trying to smile and be respectful for the media within it. It's challenging because what you find after a game, you know more about the game probably 24 hours afterwards because you've watched a bit more in the replay, or you've looked at data a bit more closely, so you're a bit more educated. Quite often you've got to take the emotion out of it, and that's a challenge. I know that's why Lee never talked to us post game, because he always thought it was too emotive. But it is difficult to get the emotion aside, particularly after you're not performing well, and then just give some reality to.
Well, what's your policy with the players? How much detail will you go into post game? Now, fortunately for you, you've had a long period where you're probably wanting to go in and wrap your arms around it.
How long do you want to talk to me for?
Do you have a policy just to check yourself?
Always speak to the group, some capacity. On the weekend after the game, I just started to get carried away. I don't know where I was going. I started to do Oppo for the week after, and the players going, hey, Fly, stop. And I just had to check into myself. Sorry, I just had an out-of-body experience. But mostly it's just rewarding behaviour or looking for new direction.
Yeah.
Coaches are all over the joint, are prepared to push up for their players now that we're sort of getting in amongst all of the stuff that we've got to look forward to. There's All-Australian nominations, and coaches are very good to give the old, it'll be an absolute joke if this bloke's not in the 40. And is Josh Dacos, did you talk about him last week? There was a data came out last week. No, Josh.
Right.
Data came out last week saying he's the number one ranked wingman in the AFL according to Champion Data, I think it was, stats. And I think it caught a few of us by surprise. We've obviously been talking about his brother a lot this year, but internally, has he just quietly been building the sort of season that might have him in that sort of contention?
Yeah, I do feel his last month of footy has been his best for the year. He has been building. He had a terrific pre-season. I think Nick and Josh have been pushing each other. Like whether they know
Gee, they
that.
find each other a lot with a footy.
Yeah. That's good, isn't it? I like how they do that. But they've definitely been feeding off each other with their with their want to get better.
Yep.
And I saw that when I first walked in the building. Yeah, there's Nick trying to bench 100 kilos, and there's Josh spotting him to come on, you can do this. But it's just translated on field as well. So. His last month has been his best for the year, and I think he's having a career best year. There's many guys in particular having career best years. I feel watching them get better and better, and then all Australian. I don't know. I find this really difficult.
So do I. There's a million opportunities. There's so many blokes who could put their hand up and say, "I deserve to be."
Yeah, well. Yeah, you look at we're a low possession team, so if they're going to go statistics around kicks and marks and handballs. I don't know. We're in trouble.
Yeah.
We're in trouble because we don't possess the ball as much as other teams do. So, I find it difficult.
You've told us a few times that you do watch a bit of footy, and so we'll let you go after this.
I watch lots, yep.
Yep. You had a game on Saturday, but did you watch last Friday night's game?
Yes.
Did you play them this week?
Yes.
Did you see something that was?
Yes.
Yeah, right. there was a bit of a tremor, wasn't there? Oh, not just from you because you're next up, but you had Port to play today.
My body
you started to shut down.
Yeah.
There was something familiar about that performance, wasn't there, from Melbourne?
Yeah, we're very aware that Melbourne's best is very good, and everyone in the competition is.
So are they going? Do you think they're going a bit better now off the back of that performance? Than they were when you got them on Queen's birthday?
Yeah, no doubt. And I think I heard Goody say on Monday night that I think they've won 4 of the last 6, and they've worked on their game. We're all trying to improve our game. Their best has always been the best. Looks like getting close back to it.
She's going to be a good game on Friday night.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So are we. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks.
Good on you.
Good luck, Coach.
Craig McRae, coach of the Collingwood Footy Club.